Actually, part of the research that I did in my master's program was looking into sugars and starches in horses. So I took blood levels, blood glucose levels, and insulin levels as they ate a meal and compared that against, this was actually alfalfa and another product as well, and over the course of time. So what I actually kind of found on this research project, that was 2 of them out of 10 of the horses were what we would maybe call insulin resistant. And why would we say that is they had a much higher glucose and insulin level, almost 10 times greater than a normal horse. So over time, and what we realized were these were old show horses. So they had probably large amounts of grain dumped to them inconsistently over their life and were now fairly obese too. So there is some correlation between a horse being kind of obese too and having metabolic issues. There's different ways to kind of help feed those horses and help maintain those horses that might have some Cushing's or metabolic diseases. First of all, we still want those horses to have adequate protein in their diet. And that's because we want them to still maintain a nice top line. Some of Cushing's horses can kind of start having some wasting of muscle. So we want to make sure that we're providing a good deal and a good source of amino acids to your horses that might be special needs still. Also, having a lower sugar starch diet can be very important and very helpful to a horse that has some of those metabolic diseases. We need to take into consideration our hay source as well, as and forage, as that's a large intake of sugar can happen from just our green grass and things like that as well too. But when it comes to maintaining our horses, we need that high protein still in their diet and low sugar starch if we can in terms of our feed, our grain. And these would be great options for a horse that maybe has those special needs. The WellSolve LS product actually took 6 years of research to determine. It's 11% sugar starches combined, so very low sugar starch, but still very palatable. It also has a full dosage of biotin, which is very helpful in hoof health and maintaining that great hoof too. So if you have one that's pretty metabolic and also has some hoof soreness and not great hoof health, that can be a great option. And then on the other end, we have Enrich Plus too, which you can feed a little bit less of, as we spoke in a previous video. But it's still very low sugar starch as well. So another great option, you can just feed a little bit less of that product too. So both good options, and I understand that maintaining those horses can be very challenging. If you have any other questions, sorry, I meant to say too, if you can spread out meals a little bit more too, that can really help with maintaining that glucose level in the body. Just as humans, if we have a huge spike where we're feeding all our grain at once or all our hay at once, that can really overload their system in terms of glucose in their body. So if we can do smaller meals, that spike won't be as high either. So there's a few tricks that can help you and your horse, and hopefully this helped you out in terms of guiding you to a direction for your horse and their grain. There's a few different reasons where wetting hay is nice. One is if you have a horse that maybe has heaves or something, it can help reduce some of that mold or those airborne dust particles. But in your instance, when you soak hay, and it would have to be for an hour or so or more, when you soak hay, it leaches out the sugars and starches to some extent from those cells in the hay, so from those plant cells. So that's awesome because it'll really leave a more fibrous forage that's lower in sugar and starch, which can help them in terms of staying a little bit more healthy and having a lower sugar starch overall diet. Unfortunately, when you do soak hay, sometimes minerals, vitamins, and proteins can be leached from the hay. But if you have a horse that is of good body condition score, or maybe a little bit obese, that's totally fine and a great way to reduce your sugar starch load in your hay.